From New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. A massive 8.8 earthquake off Russia's far east prompts tsunami warnings of waves up to 3 meters, possibly hitting the coast of Russia, Japan and Hawaii. Russian governor asks for calm as tsunami hits Russia's far east. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says no world leader tried to stop Operation Sindoor, reiterates India will treat terror sponsors and masterminds alike. Special discussion of Pahalgam attack on Operation Sindoor continues in the upper house of Parliament. External Affairs Minister to speak today. The NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar or NISAR all set for launch from India's Sriharikota to set new records in global Earth observation. NISAR satellite capable of weather 24/7 mapping of Earth. UK says it will recognize Palestinian state unless Israel substantive steps and agrees to a ceasefire in Gaza. Arab states endorse two-state solution. Join the chorus for Hamas to disarm and exit Gaza. US President Trump issues fresh ultimatum to end Ukraine conflict in 10 days or face new sanctions. Russia says it wants peace in Ukraine hours after mounting attacks that killed at least 25 people. All right, the details now. Big breaking news coming in from Russia's far east, where a massive 8.8 magnitude earthquake struck off Kamchatka Peninsula this morning, generating a tsunami of up to 4 meters, damaging buildings and prompting warnings and evacuations that stretched across the Pacific Ocean coastline. Well, the U.S. Pacific Tsunami Warning Center has also issued tsunami alerts for parts of Japan, Hawaii, Russia and Ecuador. The United States further sounded the alarm with a series of alerts of varying levels along North America's west coast from Alaska down to the entire coast of California. Several people were injured in the remote Russian region, according to the Kamchatka branch of the Geophysical Service of the Russian Academy of Sciences. This earthquake is the strongest in the region since 1952. Tsunami waves measuring 3 to 4 meters high were reported in parts of Kamchatka, prompting evacuations. Strong aftershocks, possibly with magnitudes of up to 7.5, are also expected. And we have Ravi Dhiman joining us for more on this. Well, Ravi, what are the key concerns right now? The mega warning issued and tsunami also hit the shore of Russia. What is the latest you have?
Well, the warnings have been issued by various agencies across the world after this massive earthquake that struck Russia's far eastern region. And U.S. has even alerted the authorities in California and Oregon of a possible tsunami that might strike the coast there as far as California. Japan has issued a high warning, high alert and warning for tsunami that could go up to 3 to 4 meters. It has ordered evacuations in the eastern region, and it has also warned the people to stay away from the coastal areas and move interior and to higher areas. A similar tsunami alert has been issued for many nations and coastlines in the Pacific Ocean and the Indian Ocean. Philippines, Indonesia, as far as Marshall Islands have issued tsunami alerts, and they are preparing for further evacuations. The highest alert is for Japan, Russia, and the Hawaii Islands in the U.S., and the authorities there have ordered evacuation of people who are staying near the coastal lines and have alerted people not to go near the coast.
Right, Ravi, given that this is the strongest earthquake in the region probably since 1952, how do you think, what does it reveal about the shifting seismic patterns in the Pacific? How prepared are the current global warning systems for such events?
Well, after the last tsunami that devastated, many places in the Indian Ocean region, the nations have been trying to shore up their warning systems, the tsunami warning system. But much, still remains to be done. But as far as this tsunami is concerned, the alerts have been issued well in time. The tsunami struck at around 5 a.m. The India time, or 23:25 GMT. The U.S. Geological Survey and other agencies have issued warning that tsunami might strike in the next 3 hours. That is in a few moments from now, around half an hour from now.
Right.
The alert is for tsunami to strike possible areas in Japan, California, Oregon. So the alerts have been issued. This time, probably the authorities are better prepared to deal with exigencies that arrive with such a devastating tsunami impact. But it remains to be seen whether tsunami does happen and that incident do happen. But the authorities this time are better prepared. The evacuations have been ordered for the regions that are expected to take a massive hit of tsunami if it happens. The authorities remain more alert. But since it was very shallow earthquake and a very strong one, they suspect that it might lead to a very strong tsunami and strike the coastal areas in the impacted zone.
Right. How are the different countries, especially those with these vulnerable coastlines? Because, as you said, the coastal areas are very vulnerable right now. Coordinating the response to the tsunami threat, what can we say about the real-time risk management right now?
Well, the nations have given alerts to the residents, to the people, and the authorities will ensure that no one goes near the coastline when the time regarding the time of the tsunami impact, or around half an hour from now. The Russian governor of the impacted region has already urged people to move away from the coastline. According to the reports on Reuters and AFP, tsunami has already been recorded in Kamchatka region of 3 to 4 meters. And that's not a small tsunami, it's a huge tsunami. The warning has been issued for Philippines, Indonesia, and other nations also. So nations are taking their precautions and urging people to move away from the coastline. Compulsory evacuation orders might be issued from Japan and other nations. As far as we know, according to the latest, the Japanese authorities have said that no immediate damage has been observed so far. But they are keeping their fingers crossed, and they have urged them to move away from the coastal lines.
Right, but as we know that tsunamis already hit certain areas, have there been any reports of damage or evacuation so far right now, especially in the Kamchatka, where waves have already been observed?
From what we are getting, the reports from Russia's Far East, tsunami has struck. But since they got some time, warning was issued well before the tsunami had struck these regions. I probably believe they had time to evacuate people to safely to higher grounds and also prevent people from going near the coastal lines. But the preliminary reports that are coming in on the agencies like Reuters and AFP suggest that tsunami has struck, but there is no news of any casualty so far.
All right. Ravi, would you be able to let us know what areas in Japan right now are considered more at risk with the incoming tsunami waves?
Well, the evacuation orders and alert have been issued for Hokkaido Islands. The islands which fall near the impacted zone are on high alert. We are witnessing regular feed in the agencies on Hokkaido Islands and the Pacific, and the islands in the Pacific region, which are near the Russian Far East. That would be Japan. That would be, the U.S. coastline of Hawaii and Honolulu and other areas. Now, U.S. has also issued warning for as far as down as California. So it can be, we can take a call that this is a very high alert, because 8.8 magnitude earthquake is a very strong earthquake. And so the nation suspect that tsunami waves might travel long distances before making an impact.
All right. Thank you so much, Ravi, for all those details. Also, the Consulate General of India in San Francisco is monitoring the potential tsunami threat following the recent 8.7 magnitude earthquake of Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula. Internationals in California, other U.S. West Coast states and Hawaii are advised to take the following steps. Follow local alerts. They've been told carefully monitor alerts from U.S. authorities, including local emergency management and the U.S. Tsunami Warning Centers. They've been told to move to a higher ground if tsunami alert is issued. Also, they've been told to avoid coastal areas. Also, prepare for emergency and keep devices charged. Emergency helpline numbers have also been issued, which are +1 415 483 6629, or reach through email on inquiry.sf@mea.gov.in. I repeat the number again. It's +1 415 483 6629, and the email is inquiry.sf@mea.gov.in. And moving on, U.S. President Donald Trump asked people to stay alert in the wake of tsunami warning. Trump, in a social media post, said, and I quote, "Due to a massive earthquake that occurred in the Pacific Ocean, a tsunami warning is in effect for those living in Hawaii. A tsunami watch is in effect for Alaska and the Pacific coast of the United States as well. Japan is also in the way. Please visit tsunami.gov for the latest information. Stay strong and stay safe," unquote. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Arab nations join global push for Hamas disarmament, back Palestinian Authority control in Gaza. And U.S. and China end trade talks without breakthrough, aim to extend tariff truce. And moving on, UK has warned Israel on Tuesday that it will formally recognize the state of Palestine in September unless Israel takes various substantive steps, including agreeing to a ceasefire in Gaza. The potentially landmark move, a part of UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's plan for a lasting peace, came after the British leader recalled his cabinet from recess for urgent talks on the worsening situation in the besieged territory. He also said Israel must end the appalling situation in Gaza, agree to a ceasefire and commit to a long-term sustainable peace, reviving the prospect of a two-state solution.
Our goal remains a safe and secure Israel alongside a viable and sovereign Palestinian state. But right now, That goal is under pressure like never before. I've always said that we will recognise a Palestinian state as a contribution to a proper peace process at the moment of maximum impact for the two-state solution. With that solution now under threat, this is the moment to act.
Well, Israel has rejected the UK move, arguing it constitutes a reward for Hamas. Israel's foreign ministry said recognition to Palestine harms efforts to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza. Starmer has said that Britain was prepared to recognize a Palestinian state in September at the United Nations General Assembly in response to growing public anger over the images of starving children in Gaza. While Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Starmer has rewarded Hamas' monstrous terrorism and punishes its victims, he said a jihadist state on Israel's border today will threaten Britain tomorrow. Britain, if it acts, would become the second Western power on the UN Security Council to do so after France last week. Also, U.S. President Donald Trump's administration, Israel's closest and most influential ally, has made clear it has no intention of joining others in recognizing Palestinian statehood anytime soon. While traveling back to the U.S. after meeting Starmer in Scotland, Trump said he and Starmer did not discuss London's plan to recognize a Palestinian state.
No, we never discussed it, surprisingly. It was never really discussed. Maybe a little bit at the news conference, but he was sort of discussing it with you. We never did discuss it, and we have no view on that. We're going to get a lot of money to the area so they can get some food. He's going to also. I think the European Union is going to put up money, too, for food, and hopefully it's going to be properly distributed, and it will be. I think it will be. We have some pretty good response on people for the distribution of the food.
Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department said that the United Nations Conference on a two-state solution between Israel and the Palestinians will prolong the war, embolden Hamas and reward its obstruction.
The UN is serving as host to an unproductive and ill-timed conference on the so-called two-state solution in New York City. This is a publicity stunt that comes in the middle of delicate diplomatic efforts to end the conflict in Gaza. Far from promoting peace, the conference will prolong the war, will embolden Hamas, and reward its obstruction and undermine real-world efforts to achieve real peace.
And French has, however, welcomed Britain's announcement, with its Foreign Minister John Barrett saying the move aims to reopen the prospect of peace in the Near and Middle East.
The situation in Gaza is catastrophic. Gaza is now a death trap where, as I said yesterday at the United Nations General Assembly, bodies bear the scars of famine and minds are plagued by terror. It is unacceptable that women and children are targeted and killed in cold blood in distribution lines for humanitarian aid. It is shameful and must stop.
And for more on this, we have Shubhendu Ghosh joining us. Well, Shubhendu, to what extent do you think UK's potential recognition of Palestine reflect a broader shift in the Western policy towards the Israel-Palestine conflict? And how might this reshape international leverage over the peace process? Or how do we see global diplomacy redefining itself?
Hello, Lipakshi. Yes, it's a major shift as far as the Western powers are concerned. We first have to emphasize on the context of what is going on. While the Gaza, Israel-Hamas fighting has been going on for over a year and a half now, what has really shaken the collective consciousness of the global community are images of famine and starving children that is coming out of Gaza. And that we have seen has prompted major Western powers to rethink their stance. First, France said that they plan to recognize Palestine as a state in September at the UN conference that France is playing an important role in organizing. And now the United Kingdom has also said that, but with conditions, that if Israel does not adhere to certain conditions that UK has put, which includes an immediate ceasefire and large-scale supply of aid and support for those suffering in Gaza, UK would also take a step forward to recognize Palestine as a state. Now, this is going to be a big step forward as far as official recognition of the state of Palestine is concerned. Remember, over 140 countries who are part of the United Nations, including India, already recognize the state of Palestine, but it's the major Western power who wield disproportionate influence in global affairs are the ones who have yet to recognize Palestine. But with France taking a step forward, it is going to be a significant setback for Israel while it tries to ensure that the two-state solution is not talked about. Israel, on its part, has said that there is no dearth of aid supply in Palestine. In fact, it says that in the past weekend, it has also opened new lines of aid supply over 10 hours per day in some parts of Gaza. The fighting has been stopped in order to promote the supply of aids, but WHO of United Nations says that it is too late, too little as far as the conditions of famine in Palestine are concerned. So we see these diplomatic movements really happening, prompted by those very disturbing scenes coming out of Gaza.
All right. Also, Shubhendu, with France, as we know that it's already recognizing Palestine and the United Kingdom signaling it may follow, how significant is this moment diplomatically? And could it isolate Israel further or push it towards compromise as far as the two-state solution is concerned?
Well, diplomatic steps do take their own time, Lipakshi. Recognition of Palestine does not immediately ensure a Palestinian state. There are complex concepts of territorial integrity of Palestine, which would also come into place. But yes, on paper, recognition of Palestine as a state, but by major power, first by France, and if UK also goes in the same direction, would definitely signal major divisions as far as the Western parts are concerned. Remember, United States continues to put its weight behind its all-weather ally, Israel. It has, in fact, played down the significance of the UN conference that will happen in September, saying it's futile and it, in fact, hampers the delicate peacemaking procedures that are on and are being led by United States. But it will, in principle, most definitely push the world into recognizing the right of the Palestinian people to exist peacefully in their own state. It will push for that two-state solution that seems in principle far away at the moment, where the fighting has been going on for a year and a half. Israel, meanwhile, has pushed against countries that have supported the two-state solution. In fact, if you remember in 2024, there's been a growing chorus of European countries, Western countries that primarily did not recognize Palestine earlier, have been recognizing Palestine. In May of 2024, Norway, Ireland, and Spain went ahead and recognized the state of Palestine. And then in June, Slovenia also did. So we do see a growing Western chorus of nations who are recognizing Palestine. How does it translate into peace in the region, safety for the people of Palestine is something that we'll have to wait and watch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shubhendu, for all those details. And moving on, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency announced on Tuesday that it wants to repeal its landmark 2009 finding that classified carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases as pollutants threatening human health. Trump administration said on Tuesday it will rescind the long-standing finding that greenhouse gas emissions endanger human health, removing the legal foundation for all U.S. greenhouse gas regulations. If finalized, the repeal would end current limits on greenhouse gas pollution from vehicle tailpipes, power plant smokestacks, and other sources, and hamper future U.S. efforts to combat global warming. The proposal, which needs to undergo a public comment period, would cut $54 billion in cost annually through the repeal of all greenhouse gas standards, including the vehicle tailpipe standard. And Arab nations, including Qatar, Saudi Arabia and Egypt, have international calls for Hamas to disarm and relinquish control of Gaza in a bid to end the conflict. A total of 17 countries, along with the European Union and the Arab League, endorsed a joint declaration at a United Nations conference focused on reviving the two-state solution. The 7-page document called for Hamas to step aside and hand over its weapons to the Palestinian Authority under international supervision and support. And US President Donald Trump escalated pressure on his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin for Russia to make progress towards ending the war in Ukraine or face consequences. Trump said on Tuesday that the United States would start imposing tariffs and other measures on Russia 10 days from today if Moscow showed no progress towards ending its more than 3-year-long conflict in Ukraine. Trump set the 50-day deadline for Putin early this month after repeatedly airing frustration with his opposite number in Moscow for continuing attacks on Ukraine. Trump has threatened new sanctions on Russia and buyers of its exports unless a peace deal is reached.
Mr. President, yesterday you mentioned that you would change the Russia deadline to 10 to 12 days. Has that started yet, or when can we, see the official statement that that is the new deadline?
I'll tell you what, I'll give it to you now. Do you want a big scoop?
Yes, please.
Everybody else, close your ears, okay? You ready?
I'm ready.
10 days from today. And then, we're going to put on tariffs and stuff, and I don't know if it's going to affect Russia, because he wants to obviously probably keep the war going. But we're going to put on tariffs and the various things that you put on. It may or may not affect them, but it could.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hailed Donald Trump's statement after the US president said he would cut the 50-day deadline he set for Russia to 10 days. Zelensky said that Ukraine is ready to work as productively as possible with America to work with President Trump to end this conflict with dignity and lasting peace. And Chinese and American trade negotiators concluded their 2-day meeting in Stockholm without any major breakthroughs. However, both sides described the talks as constructive. The US and Chinese delegation agreed to seek an extension of the 90-day tariff truce on Tuesday. The negotiations came as a truce established in May is set to expire next month, threatening to revive the turmoil that hit in April when the two countries exchanged escalating tit-for-tat tariffs. Addressing the press after the meeting, US Treasury Secretary Bessent said that Washington does not want to decouple trade ties with Beijing, but wants to de-risk industries like rare earths and pharmaceuticals.
Now here you have the two largest economies in negotiation. And as I've said before, and we reiterated to them, we don't want to decouple. We just need to de-risk with certain strategic industries, whether it's the rare earths, semiconductors, medicines, and we talked about what we could do together to get into balance within the relationships.
While Chinese international trade representatives said that the two sides will continue pushing for the continued extension of the pause on 24% of reciprocal tariffs of the US side.
According to the consensus between China and the United States, the two sides will continue to push for the continued extension of the pause on the 24% part of the reciprocal tariffs on the US sides, as well as the countermeasures on the Chinese side. The two economic and the trade teams will continue to maintain close communication and have timely exchanges on the trade and economic topics.
Australia said on Wednesday it will include Alphabet-owned YouTube in its world-first ban on social media for teenagers, reversing an earlier decision to exempt the video sharing platform. Australia announced last year it was drafting laws that will ban children from social media sites such as Facebook, TikTok and Instagram until they turn 16. Details of how the laws will be implemented are set to be presented to Parliament on Wednesday, with the ban due to take effect from December. The government had previously indicated YouTube would be exempt given its widespread use in classrooms. Other social media companies such as Meta's Facebook and Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok had argued an exemption for YouTube would be unfair. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India-Nepal boundary matters reviewed at the 2-day 7th India-Nepal Boundary Working Group meet in New Delhi. India delivers fresh consignment of critical medical aid to Syria. And we tell you the story of how Indians went to Indonesia decades ago and established their community.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. A massive 8.7 earthquake off Russia's far east prompts tsunami warnings of waves up to 3 meters, possibly hitting the coast of Russia, Japan and Hawaii. Russian governor asks for calm as tsunami hits Russia's far east. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says no world leader tried to stop Operation Sindoor, reiterates India will treat terror sponsors and masterminds alike. Special discussion of Pahalgam attack and Operation Sindoor continues in the upper house of Parliament. External Affairs Minister to speak today. The NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar on ISAR all set for launch from India's Sriharikota to set new records in global Earth observation. The ISAR satellite capable of all-weather 24/7 mapping of Earth. UK says it will recognise Palestinian state unless Israel substantive steps and agrees to a ceasefire in Gaza. Arab states endorse two-state solution. Join the chorus for Hamas to disarm and exit Gaza. US President Trump issues fresh ultimatum to end Ukraine conflict in 10 days or face new sanctions. Russia says it wants peace in Ukraine hours after mounting attacks that killed at least 25 people. And moving on, Rajya Sabha will continue the special discussion on Operation Sindoor today. On Tuesday, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh initiated the discussion in the upper house of India's Parliament, recounting the operational precision and bravery displayed during Operation Sindoor. He emphasised that the response was not just military but moral. Operation Sindoor, Singh said, was a message that India will not forgive nor forget when it comes to the safety of its people. Today, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Leader of the House J.P. Nadda will speak today. While in the lower house or Lok Sabha on Tuesday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke on Operation Sindoor, hailing it as a turning point in India's national security doctrine and a definitive end to Pakistan's long-standing policy of nuclear blackmail.
अमेरिका के उपराष्ट्रपति जी ने मुझे फोन पे बताया कि पाकिस्तान बहुत बड़ा हमला करने वाला है, ये उन्होंने मुझे बताया। मेरा जो जवाब था, जिनको समझ नहीं आता है उनको तो नहीं आएगा, मेरा जवाब था अगर पाकिस्तान का ये इरादा है तो उसे बहुत महंगा पड़ेगा। ये मैंने अमेरिका के उपराष्ट्रपति को कहा। अगर पाकिस्तान हमला करेगा तो हम बड़ा हमला कर करके जवाब देंगे, ये मेरा जवाब था। और आगे मेरा एक वाक्य था, मैंने कहा था हम गोली का जवाब गोले से देंगे। ये 9 तारीख रात की बात है और 9 रात में और 10 सुबह हमने पाकिस्तान को सैन्य शक्ति को तहस नहस कर दिया था और यही हमारा जवाब था, यही हमारा जज्बा था।
Well, Prime Minister Modi also spoke about Operation Mahadev, in which 3 terrorists involved in the Pahalgam terror attack were killed. He questioned the opposition's doubts regarding the timing of the operation.
पहलगाम के हमलावरों को कल हमारे सुरक्षा बलों ने ऑपरेशन महादेव करके अपने अंजाम तक पहुंचाया। लेकिन मैं हैरान हूं कि यहां ठहाके लगा के पूछा गया कि आखिर ये कल ही क्यों हुआ। अब ये क्या हो गया है मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है। क्या ये ऑपरेशन के लिए कोई सावन महीने का सोमवार ढूंढा गया था क्या? क्या हो गया है इन लोगों को? हताशा, निराशा इस हद तक। और देखिए मजा, पिछले कई सप्ताह से हाँ ऑपरेशन सिंदूर हो गया तो ठीक है, पहलगाम के आतंकियों का क्या हुआ, पहलगाम के आतंकियों का। अब हुआ तो कल क्यों हुआ? और कल ही क्यों हुआ? क्या हाल है चीन का।
And for more, we have Dibyendu Mondal joining us on the Parliament. Well, Dibyendu, yesterday in Lok Sabha, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke about Operation Sindoor. He gave a befitting reply to everything. A special discussion on Operation Sindoor in Rajya Sabha also to continue today. Give us the details.
Well, Lipakshi, after a marathon discussion of about 18 long hours in the Lok Sabha, the discussion concluded with the Prime Minister making his statement on the floor of the House on Operation Sindoor. Of course, we just played some sound bites of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. One of the most important highlight is that the opposition that was asking on who mediated on the ceasefire can now be put to bed, because both the Prime Minister, the External Affairs Minister, as well as the Defence Minister, all the three top ministers of the government of India have clarified that there was no mediation, and Prime Minister categorically yesterday said that the decision for the stoppage of fire, or quote-unquote a ceasefire, was done after a DGMO call was made from Pakistan, from the Pakistani side to the Indian DGMO, requesting for the stoppage of the war, of the firing from the Indian side. And no world leader was responsible for any mediation between India and Pakistan, and the issue remains bilateral. So therefore, that issue should now be put to rest. And also, Home Minister Amit Shah yesterday in the Lok Sabha giving out the fact on Operation Mahadev and saying that the three terrorists that were responsible for the dastardly killing of 26 innocent lives in the Baisaran Valley has been taken down by the Indian Armed Forces and the security forces, with coordinated planning from the Jammu Kashmir Police, the intelligence, as well as the Indian Armed Forces. So therefore, all the questions that were being raised by the oppositions can now be settled and can now be put to bed, because all the answers have been given by from the government side by the top ministers. As far as the Rajya Sabha is concerned, Lipakshi, the debate was initiated yesterday by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. He on the floor of the House, he did give out details like he did in the Lok Sabha on Monday, and it was followed by Mallikarjun Kharge. And today what we are expecting to hear from the Rajya Sabha is, of course, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will spell out details on the diplomatic fronts, and as well as on the front that talks about India's diplomacy, as well as how the other countries have responded. So we'll wait to see how at 12 p.m. the discussions begin.
All right. Thank you so much, Dibyendu, for all those details. And moving on, in just a few hours, a historic moment in space exploration will unfold at India's Satish Dhawan Space Centre in Sriharikota. After the successful Axiom-4 mission, the next space mission, NASA-ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar, or NISAR satellite, is set to launch today at 1740 IST aboard ISRO's GSLV F-16 rocket. NISAR will scan the entire globe every 12 days, providing high-resolution all-weather day and night data. It can detect even subtle changes in Earth's surface like ground deformation, ice sheet shifts and vegetation dynamics. The mission will support many critical applications including sea ice monitoring, ship detection, storm tracking, soil moisture changes, surface water mapping and disaster response. A milestone marks as over a decade of collaboration between ISRO and NASA. And for more on this, we have Jai Singh joining us. Well, Jai Singh, big day today. NASA ISRO-NASA satellite to launch in a few hours from now. Tell us about the level of excitement and also about the last-minute preparations out there.
Well, the 27.5 hours countdown is going on very smoothly in ISRO's spaceport at Sriharikota, Professor Satish Dhawan Space Center, especially the second launch pad at this spaceport is all decked up for this historic launch today evening. So the preparations for this prestigious space mission, especially this Earth observation satellite, has been going on for the past 10 years, including during the COVID-led lockdown. So over 75 of ISRO scientists were in NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory in the US, and last 2 years, almost 2 years, more than 100 NASA scientists were here in Sriharikota, in Bangalore, the headquarters of ISRO, for preparing this historic launch. This is going to be a very beneficial science mission for the whole world, not only for India and the US, but this is for the whole world because the data, around 80 terabytes of data, which is phenomenal in nature, very unprecedented of this kind for any science mission, will be given to the whole world community. This satellite is capable of peeping through even thick darkness, dense clouds, all weather, whether it is sunshine or cyclone or heavy rain, torrential downpour. It is immaterial because this is not an optical camera, but this is a synthetic aperture radar. Actually, this is a satellite and also a very sophisticated radar on the sky.
Right. Jai Singh, also as the NISAR mission combines the technological expertise of both the agencies, as you were also mentioning, tell us about the satellite's role in providing 24/7 imagery regardless of the weather or the lighting conditions, and with its capability of taking 3D vision of Earth.
Yes, because this NISAR satellite uses two bandwidths. One, the L bandwidth provided by ISRO, and the S bandwidth provided by NASA. So this is the first time such two bandwidth are being used in a single Earth observation satellite. So it can capture the world's upper surface, be it moving glaciers or formation of a glacier lake or its outburst or the vegetation. The changes to the extent of just 1 centimeter can be easily detected by passing the radio waves, the radar waves to Earth and capturing its echo, the reflection. So the resolution will be very high. So it is normally for any Earth observation satellite belonging to a particular country, only at that time of interest, when the satellite comes across our area of interest, the devices will be switched on. Other times it will be switched off. But this is a continuous mission. Day and night, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and its operational life is expected to be 5 years. It can be even more. So this is such a high, capable satellite, the NISAR. It has several firsts in its life.
Absolutely exciting day today and a big moment for India as well. Thank you so much, Jai Singh, for all those details. And moving on, the 7th meeting of the India-Nepal Boundary Working Group concluded in New Delhi on Tuesday. During the two-day meeting, both sides reviewed the progress of work done subsequent to the last BWG meeting held in August 2019. The two sides jointly adopted updated modalities for inspection, repair and maintenance of boundary pillars along the India-Nepal boundary and agreed to expedite work in this regard using latest technologies. The BWG meeting also finalized the work plan for the next 3 years. It was also agreed that the next survey official committee meeting would be held soon in Nepal on mutually agreed dates. And India's humanitarian outreach to Syria continued with the delivery of a fresh consignment of critical medical aid. The Ministry of External Affairs said India handed over a consignment of 5 million tons of essential life-saving medicines, including anti-cancer, antibiotics and anti-hypertensives to Syria. The gesture is part of India's ongoing efforts to provide relief and medical assistance to conflict-affected regions and underscores New Delhi's commitment to extend support during humanitarian crisis. Well, moving on, a walk through Little India in Jakarta tells the story of how Indians came to Indonesia decades ago and established their community. The tour takes participants to textile shops and temples while sharing the story of Indians in the Indonesian capital. Our correspondent Chandni Vasandani gets us this report.
Business activities keep the Pasar Baru area buzzing in central Jakarta. But few truly explore what is known as the Little India area. That's changing thanks to Jakarta Good Guide's newest walking tour, giving people a glimpse of the area that was the first Indian settlement of the city. The tour begins among rows of fabric shops run by generations of Indian-Indonesian textile traders. It continues to the Gandhi Memorial School, established by the Bombay Merchants Association, before stopping at the vibrant Sai Mandir temple and at the Gurdwara nestled just around the corner.
I've heard about the area before, but I feel like this is the first time for me to do this kind of tour, walking around Jakarta. I think it's very interesting. It's informative, and it proves me again and again that Jakarta is such a multicultural city. It's a city that, you know, is a living symbol really of Indonesia's national motto. That's unity in diversity, and I think that's something that more people of Jakarta need to explore on their own terms.
Creating the tour required months of research. The goal is to go beyond the obvious and uncover the story of how Indian communities shaped Jakarta's identity.
Yeah, so we do research because we want to know the real and then the concept what we have to tell to the people. Because for us, Little India is quite interesting too. So we do research from the first at the beginning, how come the Indian people and do activity here in Jakarta. Start from Sumatra, for example, and then come to Jakarta because Jakarta is a big city at that time and until now. So we do research to know knowledge about the Indian people in Jakarta.
A walk through Jakarta's Little India reveals a community that is very embedded in Indonesia's cultural fabric. In the past, Indian empires have shaped Indonesia's culture, society, tradition, and language, and you can see elements of that when you're walking through this area. Today, Indians who have moved here as traders have established a strong community across Indonesia.
As Jakarta continues to grow and modernize, tours like this are a reminder that the city's most compelling stories are hiding in plain sight. This is Chandni Vasandani for DD India.
And Moscow is all set to explode with color, culture and celebration as India Day Festival turns 10. The Russian capital India Day Festival returns from 14 to 17 August at Dream Island Park, celebrating 78 years of diplomatic ties between the nations. Visitors can enjoy 25-plus themed zones, live yoga and Ayurveda sessions, Bollywood film screenings and an Indian marketplace with 150-plus stalls. Food lovers can explore 40 food zones with authentic dishes and fresh mangoes flown in from India. This year introduces a special Maha Kumbh Mela zone, a children's art contest and a brand new award ceremony for those who have made contributions to Indo-Russian cultural ties. And on to some business news. The U.S. Federal Open Market Committee will release its interest rate decision today. U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is expected to repeat what he had stated in several recent policy meetings, that the Fed will respond to incoming data and the evolving economic situation. Markets widely expect Fed not to cut interest rates this time around, despite President Donald Trump's repeated calls for Powell to lower the federal funds rate. The U.S. Central Bank last cut interest rates on December 18, 2024 by 25 basis points, bringing the federal funds rate to a range of 4.25% to 4.50%. Since then, the Fed has maintained a pause. Further, the Fed has already projected GDP growth of 1.4% in 2025, down to 0.3% from the March meeting. Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. Asian Game champions Satvik Sairaj Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty cruised into the second round of the Macau Open Badminton Tournament. Indian duo beat Loh Hang Yi and Nag Eng Cheong of Malaysia 21-13, 21-15 in the opening round. Satvik Chirag started with high intensity and closed out the first game with ease. In the second game, the Malaysians tried to make a comeback, but the Indians stringed together 4 consecutive points to seal the match. In the women doubles, Commonwealth Games bronze medalist Teresa Jolly and Gayatri Gopichand suffered a shock opening round exit after losing 16-21, 22-20, 21-15 against the Chinese Taipei pair of Ling Xiaomin and Peng Yue. And India's batting coach Sitanshu Kotak has revealed that world number 1 seamer Jasprit Bumrah is fit, but there have been no discussions yet regarding his inclusion in the playing 11 for the 5th and final test. Bumrah has been the best bowler for the Indian team in the ongoing Anderson Tendulkar Trophy. He's taken 14 wickets with 2 fifers at an average of 26 and an economy rate of 3.04. After the conclusion of 4 tests, the series remains alive, though India trail at 1-2. Now both teams return to London for the last contest starting on Thursday.
बुमराह इस फिट अभी उनके लोड के हिसाब से लास्ट मैच एक इनिंग बॉल डाला है, तो दैट ऑब्वियसली हेड कोच, आवर फिजियो एंड कैप्टन, they will have a discussion and decide.
And Venus Williams will compete alongside Rayleigh Opelka in the mixed double event at the US Open starting in August. 7-time Grand Slam single champion Williams made a comeback to the competitive tennis last week after more than a year of hiatus. America's Williams, who turned 45 last month, and her compatriot Opelka were among 14 teams named to play by the US Tennis Association. Williams won her opening singles and doubles match at the DC Open last week. She's also set to play as a wildcard entrant in next month's Cincinnati Open and could open for a US Open single wildcard. Those are expected to be announced in about 2 weeks. And at sunrise, dozens of balloons took off into the sky of Arzéville during a global gathering of hot air balloons in France. Take a look. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.